Hello and welcome to Transplant's Take on Sport. My name's Lewis Daniels and today I'm joined by a specialist nurse in organ donation, George Brann-Liff. We'll be chatting about George's career in organ donation, including what day-to-day life is like for him, as well as how it feels to be involved in a successful transplant from his point of view. You'll also find out more about a cricket match George has organised between an NHS Blood and Transplant Select 11 and the England and Wales Transplant Cricket Club on Sunday the 11th of September at Rockhampton Cricket Club in Gloucestershire. If you'd like to come along and watch, please follow the link in the show notes to register for free tickets. If you're enjoying the podcast, please make sure you press subscribe or follow wherever you normally listen so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to follow the podcast on social media, all the links will be in the show notes. Before we get into this episode, I'd like to say another huge thank you to Neon Cricket, who very kindly sponsored me once again for the 2022 season, and have given me a code to share with you all that's slightly different to the one you may have heard before. If you use the code TTOSPORT, you'll receive a 20% discount on their entire range. That's TTOSPORT for 20% off everything at neoncricket.co.uk, and the website and the code are in the show notes in case you want to go straight from there to the website. I've been using their kit and it's genuinely the best I've ever used, so if you play cricket, why not grab yourself a saving of 20% ready for the new season. If there's a friend, family member, teammate, opposition player, a player you coach, or anyone else you'd like to share the code with, then please feel free to do so. Thank you once again to Neon Cricket, and let's get back to the podcast. George Brann-Liff, welcome to Transplant's Take on Sport.
Hi, Lewis. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. I know we've been saying off air there, you've been listening for a long time now, and it's great to have you on. You're not a transplant recipient, you are a specialist nurse in organ donation, so you play a massive part in changing the lives of so many people, which we're going to come on to soon. It's been a while since the last podcast, a couple of months. I can only apologise. I've had other things on, including starting a new course, but it's back. So hopefully this is the first of many in a string of regular episodes. So to start with, George, was there a point in your life or career when you decided you wanted to work in organ donation?
Not really. The beauty of being a nurse to start with and working in healthcare generally, there's a mass of roles you can go into. Whatever you fall into and enjoy, you're set. But basically, when I was a student nurse working in Portsmouth, I worked on the renal unit in my second year and kind of helped a couple of potential recipients, get teed up for kidney transplants. So I saw it from the recipient side, and it was amazing. Saw the transformation within days with them. So, but as a student, then you just rolled on to the next placement and kind of genuinely forget about it to a certain point. When I qualified, then I worked in the eye department again at QA and saw people receiving corneal transplants, giving them, the gift of sight back, which again was phenomenal. But there was no way for me to get into that side at that stage in my career. So I moved to intensive care in 2007, and immediately kind of just engrossed myself in the ITU world. It was a fantastic, fast-paced environment, very very good, a bit geeky. So it kind of ticked all my boxes, and just got talking to the organisation, their specialists up there, um, and just they just captivated me. What they told me, what they do, how they, transform people's lives, from a donor family point of view, and then obviously onto the recipient side, and then all my memories of my studenthood helping the kidney recipients, um, all came flooding back, and it was just something that actually in the back of my mind, if I can get to that point and the job was available at the right time, and I was in the right place, it would be something I would go on to. And then kind of 4 years ago, all kind of all the chess pieces were aligned, and luckily there was a job available, and I got it, and haven't really looked back since. It's something I've always wanted to do, and now I can't see myself doing anything else.
What does your role generally involve?
It's a really difficult one to explain because we do a bit of everything really. We work on the ITU units, helping families. Such a horrific time. They've just been told, someone of they've loved and been with for decades potentially are dying or have died, and so you're helping them pick up their pieces, starting their bereavement journey. You're helping ITU nurses with numbers and targets and kind of general healthcare, supporting that patient in the bed. Um, and then, potentially 20 hours later, you're going to theatre to help retrieve organs and kind of get them off to anywhere in the country, really, um, to help someone that potentially have got hours to live themselves. It's a very diverse role that you can't really pinpoint down to one particular aspect. And that's why I love it, because every day is different. You're helping so many different people at any one time. It's crazy.
And now 4 years in, is it still quite an emotional job for you, or do you become sort of numb to the feelings of, I mean, there's a lot to deal with. There's death, near death, and saving lives again.
I think it's getting worse, Lewis. If I'm honest, the
Yeah?
older I get, the older I get, and the more experience I get, the more relatable it is to people. It's people, passing away, dying, who are my age, or I've got children the same age as my children. Sometimes it's even you're dealing with a donor family who are bereaving for their child in that bed who are the same age as my children.
Yeah.
It's so relatable, but it's not, you're not dealing with their grief. You're just helping them deal with theirs, and you just go home and give your loved one a extra big cuddle and kind of. I relate it to being like an onion. You just build yourself. You build different layers of resilience onto you, and you just have to deal with it. So with every challenge breeds a bit of resilience, and that's how you get through it. And it helps. And actually, I find that if you are emotionally attached to that family at that time, and you shed a tear with them, or you share a story with them, they really appreciate it.
It's an amazing job that you and all your colleagues do in organ donation. Now I had a Twitter DM come in recently after the last podcast, so it's been a while since that came in, and I was gonna save this for a podcast with a transplant recipient who'd received an organ from a deceased donor, but I think it'd be quite nice to read it with you on and get your thoughts and see if this is something that you're involved with or you've experienced. I'm going to keep them anonymous. And it says, "Hi, Lewis. I've enjoyed all your podcasts, even though I'm not very sporty, but I am a donor mum." So the mother of somebody who has become a deceased donor. And it's so good to hear the recipient's achievements. I wouldn't normally message, but felt I needed to following the latest episode. You asked Daniel if he'd written to the donor. Great question, by the way. And he said he was waiting until he'd achieved his goals. Please say it is okay to write with your goals, and then again once they've been achieved. My first letter from the recipient was so precious. In other words, he doesn't need to wait. Well done on the podcasts. I really do enjoy them. Might even see you in Leeds at the Transplant Games. And we did. So, do you, in your role, get involved with helping or facilitating people writing to donor families?
Yeah, so it all just comes through us. So the letters will go to our donor records department in Liverpool, who will then forward onto us for us to check, make sure there's obviously not too much personal information going on that could be traceable at that stage. And yeah, just pass it on. I think it's very important. I think it's a very good thing. It's not something, again, before I started the job, I didn't realize happened. And I know a lot of donor families get a lot of uh, not pleasure, but that's a difficult word. It's not that, but a lot of joy receiving that letter, especially if someone has gone on to achieve their goals and stuff. It gives them a sense of it was all worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
And later down the line, sometimes we even facilitate meets. I've never done it myself, but it does happen, and I've heard it's such an emotional thing. So yeah, and it's really hard. And this is why again I love listening to your podcast and other podcasts of that ilk, because we very rarely deal with the recipient side. We have a massive link with the donor side, obviously because of the job, and we meet them, and we build up that rapport. But we don't tend to hear the recipient side. So for me, listening to stories of someone achieving a goal, especially it's relatable to me because I love the sport. It's fantastic because I've had some down times in this job. It's really hard. It's really taxing. You're awake a long time. It's very very emotional. Um, and I slap on the podcast like this and others, and actually it makes me realize truly why I do this job. it's one of the massive things. You can forget about the recipients. So letters to donor families from recipients and vice versa is a massive link for everyone involved. It's brilliant.
It sounds like a very rewarding job, and this has just come to me now. Something that I ask a lot of uh, transplant recipients, and again, it'd be interesting from your point of view. We were speaking off air that you'll be on call and you'll get the call to go into work. How does it feel to you when you receive a call saying that you're going in and somebody's going to receive an organ?
I've played sport, not at a massive high level, um, but I've been involved in Sunday League Cup finals. I can't equate the adrenaline rush to anything when I get an on-call call out. It's your mind goes into such a space where you're just thinking a million things at all in one time, and to try and get all everything lined up so you make some sense to a family, or you know what you're doing in the process is really difficult. I can go out on call. I live down south on the south coast. I've been as far as Coventry, Cardiff, so Northampton. We travel a long way sometimes, and you're stuck in a transport car or sometimes even a taxi, and you're just left to your own devices, and your thoughts are just like, what am I going to do um, to help all the people that I am going to help today? Potentially, 6, 7, 8 people receiving an organ, and potentially 5, 6, 7 people in a bereaved family. It's a crazy world that you're helping so many people in one evening. It's difficult. If you think about it too hard, you won't do it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you just get the call, and your mind just clicks into work mode, and then you just go, and it just yeah, the adrenaline rush is fantastic.
And there might be people listening to this who are interested in going into the same career as you that are on, maybe they're student nurses or they are nurses and this is where they want to go. What are the main skills required to do your job?
Love of coffee is definitely one of them. Um, as a nurse, as a doctor, as a medic, it's really weird. You build up an affinity with someone really, really quickly. You have these weird interpersonal skills that you can judge someone genuinely quite correctly in such a quick amount of time. I think 7 seconds. I think I've read somewhere that you build up a rapport with someone. Um, so you have to have that personal touch. Um, you have to be, I say, organised. I struggle to put my shoes on the right foot sometimes. That's not going to lie. So, and they trust me to do this job at a very highly organised levels. You have to be to a certain point organised. Um, Not afraid to wear your heart on your sleeve. Have a cry, have a laugh, um, and just know your nurse and staff. It really helps having. It's not necessary now, but it really helps having an intensive care or accident and emergency nurse background, so ED, A&E, whatever you want to call it, because you're dealing with sometimes really sick patients who are becoming a little bit unstable. That you need to have that backup of, I'm going to try this drug or I'm going to try that treatment and stuff to help get you through. So again, it's a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none is probably the best way I can describe it.
Are you involved in the aftercare as well? I could be wrong here. It might be different in different hospitals, but I'm sure I saw a specialist organ donation nurse quite regularly after my transplant.
Sometimes depends where you're based. In maybe the bigger hospitals, like Leeds, Manchester, on sometimes Oxford, because they've got a transplanting place there. But generally, no. We would just deal with the donor side. The paths of a donor nurse and the recipient very rarely will cross.
Right.
Unless, like I said, they were based in the same hospital and they want to go up and say hello, and they've got those links to the recipient side.
Now we know there's developments in organ donation over the years. How has it changed or developed since the start of your career?
It seems to change every day. We get a new policy, a new process come out every day that we have to learn and, you know, keep in a locker. There's research stuff comes out that we have to talk about. There's, new organs that can be transplanted and retrieved that we have to think about in different areas. But the main one is the opt-out legislation that happened a couple of years ago. Kind of lost in the mire because they decided to roll it out in March. 2020, I believe. So kind of just when the pandemic was hitting. So m- most people know about it. There's a few people who don't, because the news was just obviously, understandably,
Yeah.
COVID based. But yeah, that's the big one. Getting people to talk about their wishes, getting people to, even if they don't want to become a donor, getting people to talk about it, and making a decision on the organ donation register of a yes or a no is a big one.
And if you listen to this and your family are near you and they don't know what you'd like to do, maybe get to the end, have a chat with them, pause it, have a chat with them because it could save someone's life. And George, you'll have been on the end of, uh, right at the forefront of people who've had that conversation and have changed somebody's life.
Yeah, the legislation's there. It's not, you're not going to go into hospital and, um, for a knee operation and then be taking your kidneys because you haven't said no, you don't want to be a donor. It's not going to happen. It's, to put it in perspective, you're more likely to need a transplant than be able to give one to someone. 1% of people who die in the hospital go on potentially to become a donor. So the pool is very, very small. The legislation is there to help guide families who haven't had that conversation with their loved one. If they literally have no idea if they would be a donor or not, it's just an exploration of their, objections, whether they would object to become a donor if they were a kind person and would want to help other people. And the legislation is there to guide that. It's not to coerce people. It's not to say they haven't opted out, they haven't opted in. That means it's fair game that we take, your loved one's kidneys. It's not there for that purpose. It's there to help people just talk about it and remember their person as a hopefully a kind, giving human being. Which I think that to the majority, the people that I deal with are kind-hearted and want to help people out. So the legislation does work in that aspect.
You mentioned kidneys in there. Is that the main organ you work with?
Yeah, kidneys is just an easy one, because they are the most retrieved organs, but they are the organs that are needed the most, in the country. Um, but yeah, it's kidneys, it's liver, it's pancreas, heart, lungs, small bowel can be donated, and even we are starting to look at kind of uterine transplants in certain aspects, limb transplants in certain areas of the country as well. So you know, as technology and healthcare evolves, the more we can try and help people. We've all heard about the stories about face transplants and stuff like that. So it's out there. It's not wide ranging, the novel transplants, but it does happen, and it all just depends of where in the country you are. But the main ones are kidneys, liver, um, lungs, and heart are the four that we deal with mostly.
Going back to the opt-out law, how has that changed how you go about your job, and also has it changed the process of donating an organ from your point of view?
Um, not really. It doesn't really change because the families are still involved. So, like I said, it's not. We presume that if you're not on the register, you have no objections to be on the register as such, and be able to donate an organ if you're in that possibility. But the families can still override a yes, they can still override a no, and can override a maybe. So, in my opinion and in my view, it doesn't. You just still talk to the families you would talk to them before the opt out law, and see what they would want to do really. And if they can't handle the hospital anymore, they've been in hospital for weeks, they just want to go home,
Yeah.
and their loved one hasn't voiced a decision, then they're all entitled to say, actually, it's not what us as a family or us as my husband, wife, or whoever in the bed would want. And we have to respect that. We have to respect that decision. But on the whole, people do talk about it now. On the whole, people are aware of the legislation and make a decision based around it. So sometimes it does become easier, especially if they've opted in. If they've opted in, they've genuinely talked about it, and families support that decision.
In terms of supporting families, throughout your career in organ donation over the last 4 years, how has the support you're able to offer either improved, increased, changed?
I think it's definitely improved. Again, like I said at the start, it comes with experience, really. Uh, you know, we've got quite a big team in our patch. We've got 27, 28 highly qualified, trained, experienced organ donation nurses. So we talk about what we do on call. You're on your on call genuinely on your own. you just have to act at the best time. Really, you have to kind of make that decision and make that supportive decision for that family at a time. And if you know someone, for example, has done a nice a good handprint, or has got a way of giving someone a nice hairlock, you take that on board, and you give that to your family. I've been in a privileged position. I've helped two families have a non-legal wedding, so a blessing in the hospital. They've been together for 20 years, never got around to getting married, but they wanted to. They were going to change their name after their partner had died. So we arranged a chaplaincy to come in the
Wow.
following day. Balloons, photographer, you name it, you're there. It wasn't legally binding, but for them it was. It was that emotional time that they had, and to do that, to have the opportunity to do that, I wouldn't be able to do it elsewhere on the NHS because of times and pressures and stuff. And we were able to do it. And for me, that's the most rewarding part of the job. Give putting something out a toolbox like that, and just getting a thank you at the end, and just going that extra mile is what it's all about.
That would have been so special to them as well, and the fact that you were able to organise it is it's that the extra touch that I think families will remember.
Mm.
Those little moments where you've gone above and beyond to make them as comfortable as possible and fulfil their wishes.
Yeah, someone in that position will genuinely remember the first doctor and nurse they come into hospital on an ITU, and the last one. So if they're God forbid, I'm the last person they see or talk to in the hospital, I want to make it memorable for the right reasons. And it's very rare that that sort of extra mile happens, but you go that little bit further for some because you've got that opportunity. Some just want a nice handprint or bit of music played by the bedside, and that you can do that now. And with the Wi-Fi is better in the hospital, for example, so you can play a decent playlist on your phone for them. And it's those sort of touches that when people say, "Can you do it?" you have to explore.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. When you are involved in a successful transplant, how rewarding is it for you?
Oh, phenomenal. It's it, it is a strange one. It's different parts of the process where you think about different people. At the start, you're thinking about how am I going to support this family, how I'm going to have this conversation to potentially help a recipient, and then you don't really think about the recipient up until theatres again, because all you're doing is trying to go that extra mile. You're trying to do the keepsakes, the memory making, supporting siblings. Your focus is donor families, um, and then you get into theatre, and then your mindset changes again. It's kind of like we need to you know proceed in the most safest way, make sure the organs are packed well, make sure there's no lumps and bumps and anything suspicious that can go on help someone, could go on and hinder someone in the future. Um, so your mind changes from person to person, and then you go home and you have a coffee, you're having a shower, you're sat in the bath, which I generally go home, detox in the bath, massive bath bomb, sitting there for an hour and think about all the people that I've helped, all the people that have gone on because of my Uh, my work over the last 20 hours is phenomenal. So to have a recipient coordinator say thank you very much, everything went well. To have a donor family who I speak to 12 hours later to say thank you very much, you've made our bereavement journey a little bit easier. That's all that matters. A simple thank you from those people is crazy. And I'll tell a story. I went to San Francisco with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, um, in 2019. We went on this food tour. And we got talking to people. Ironically, there was an ITU nurse from Alaska there, so we got talking about kind of work and all that stuff. But we were sat down in this pizza restaurant in San Francisco, and we all had a few drinks. So we all kind of like, what do you do, all that stuff. And I had a Marine sat opposite me. He did 2 tours in Iraq, one in Afghanistan. Um, Mate's blown up, coming back with, massive injuries. Um, and I just said, it's amazing. I couldn't do it. How you've survived that, how you're getting through after seeing the stuff that you've done. I then explained what I do to him. He literally got up, shook my hand. And he said, "That's phenomenal." I was gobsmacked for someone who, faces his own mortality every day for, on 3 tours of war, to go up to me and say, "That's a phenomenal job that you do. You should be
Yeah.
proud every day." Really puts in perspective. It's just, I get goosebumps. I'm talking about it now. I just get goosebumps because
Yeah.
whenever I really struggle in the job, I think about that story, and that's what it's all about. You're making a difference to everybody that you touch.
Yeah, that story as well shows how important your job is, how respected you are for doing what you do.
Mm.
It was lovely to hear. You're involved in raising awareness for organ donation, and we'll be doing something in September. September the 11th, you're putting on an event, a cricket match between an NHS Blood and Transplant Select 11 and the England and Wales Transplant Cricket Club, which I play for. What made you decide to organise the match?
Again, it's something that I would not have the opportunity to do if I wasn't doing the job that I was doing. If to have the opportunity to get given the time and resources to plan something promotional wise is I'm just very, very grateful. But as always, it started off with just a bit of a laugh. Really, I was sat in a team meeting one time. I think it was again about around about 2019, um, and suggested Twitter follower came up on my Twitter feed on my lunch break, and it was the England and Wales transplant team. Because a lot of my Twitter is sport and kind of organ donation related. Followed them and just got into a bit of banter. Really, it was kind of like, we will just start just be men and just take the mick out of each other. And it was like, right, let's get together. Let's do something. Spur of the moment. Let's get a game going on. I play for Round the Cricket Club down here in Gosport, but it was just too soon. It was kind of like we couldn't organise it in that sort of short space of time. So we kind of like, right, actually, this could happen. It could just be a game in the field with a barbecue sort of thing. And then it just snowballed from there. It's something that I look at other teams around the country. They do cycle rides from kind of Manchester Hospital to Leeds Hospital, etc. And I'm quite competitive, so I just want, what can I do to outdo them? So it's kind of, that's just have a cricket match. I love cricket. I love my job. Let's put the two together. And the England and Wales transplant team have been fantastic in their support. They're like, yeah, let's do it. And the last 2 years have been postponed with COVID. So it's kind of just, it's a week before Organ Donation Week. So it's going to kick off, the uh, the Pink Pledge. I think they're calling it this year. That's the big push. Um, it just snowballs, and I think it's just a fantastic event. Hopefully, to raise awareness of how important organ donation is, giving people as kind of a second chance to do something that they love. Um, that's about it. it's it's nothing special. It wasn't an epiphany moment. It was just, can I do it?
Yeah.
Yes. Shall I do it? Why the hell not?
I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be my first game for the team, and the whole event sounds great. I've seen the trophy that I think I've been sent pictures of. You're in the kit at the moment. People won't be able
Yep.
to see, but you've got your white and pink kit on. How special would it be for you to play cricket against a team of people who've directly benefited from the work people like yourself have done?
I don't think I can explain it, Lewis, to be fair. Like I said, we don't have the links as donation nurses to recipients as I think we maybe should have. So for myself and the team, it's a realization of why ultimately we do the job for. Um, and as long as we win, it'd be fantastic as an NHSBT team. But at the end of the day, it is to raise awareness, get people talking, get members of the public talking. Um, and hopefully, again, it will continue year on year. Whether we move it around the country, whether we keep it in Gloucester. Gloucester's quite a good central location where it is in Rockhampton, so it's easy for people to get to. Whether we move it around, I don't know. People are trying to keep my feet on the ground. In my mind, in 5 years, we'd be playing at Lords, but
Hopefully.
it'd be amazing. But it's just about just doing what, it's a bit selfish, I'm not gonna lie. It's doing what I enjoy. Love my job. I love my sport. So actually, for me, it's a dream come true. It's a match made in heaven, and to meet you guys in person, shake your hand, because I was meaning to come up a couple of times to the net, but it's life. Life gets in the way. So yeah, it's just it's just it'd be fantastic. I just want to do it. I can't really explain how excited I am. I think my wife wants to kill me because I've got cricket gear everywhere. The last 2 years, when it gets to around about this time, I'm talking about cricket. She hates it. I think my team managers hate it, but it's a good for me. It's a planning this has been a good step away from being on call all the
Yeah,
time. I'm not just thinking about 20-hour shifts. I'm going away. I'm doing something, planning something I really enjoy. Um, and we'll see what happens if the rain stays away. I think I've got now a 14-day long-term forecast in Gloucester on my phone that flashes up every morning. So as soon as the rain stays away, I think it's going to be a cracking event.
I'm really looking forward to it. The England and Wales Transplant Cricket team, as I've said so many times on here, is a fantastic team to be involved with. It's been so beneficial for me, both cricketing sense and also transplant sense, talking to other people who've been through similar experiences to me. So it would be a really, really special day. And people listening to this can actually come and watch if they'd like to. Where can people go to register for free tickets? Yes, free tickets, and come along and watch.
I think there's an Eventbrite link that hopefully you can post at the end of this.
That'll be in the description.
Yep, just click on it, come on down, register for as many tickets as you like. You don't have to be touched by organ donation. You don't have to be touched by organ transplant. If you want to come out and see the benefits of what organ donation has done to 12, 13 like-minded individuals, normal human beings that have been given the opportunity to kind of do something that they love, again, just please come down. There's going to be a barbecue, there'll be a bar, a small cost. Bring your own picnic, bring your kids. There's plenty of space. It's a beautiful, beautiful venue in Rockhampton Cricket Club. If people Google it, they will see how beautiful it really is. Um, just come on down, enjoy it. Talk about, bring your friends and family. Talk about organ donation. Just come out for a lovely late summer's day of cricket.
That is Sunday, the 11th of September at Rockhampton Cricket Club in Gloucester, near Gloucester. I'll make sure that the link to go and register for tickets is in the show notes of the podcast. I've also retweeted it on the Transplant Take on Sport Twitter. I'll try and get it on Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to come down, please do. We'll both be there playing in the game. It'd be great to see you. And you've said earlier on how you try to keep your feet on the ground and play at Lords in 5 years. Is the plan to just keep this event going for as long as possible as an annual thing?
As long as I can do it, as long as I'm in the role, it'd be something I always will try to do. I know the transplant team. I spoke to them last week are really passionate about it. The passion that you've talked about is evident. So as long as we can keep doing it and it's there and it just coincides with any sort of national incidents going on. Obviously, we can't have anything like a COVID or something
Yeah.
like that happening. But as long as the interest is there from both parties, I can't see why not. I think it's going to be a great way of showcasing what transplantation and donation can do for people, and I can't think of any other way that I'd want to promote it.
Have you been playing regularly this season to get ready?
No, I've had a good innings on a 2020 the other week, midweek. I only played 4 Saturday games because of childcare, because of we just bought a house and we've got house renovations and that to do. So and work ultimately work gets in the way, but you play it. It's as you know, sport is a fantastic way of being an outlet. So
Yeah.
as long as I get a couple of games in a year just to kind of be around my mates, um, have a few kind of drinks at the end of the day, it's fine. I think the wife enjoys it because I'm out of the house for a long time. She gets some peace and quiet. So yeah, I haven't played as much as I have done, but what I have played has been okay. My average down a little bit from last year, but um, I played a lot of wicket keeping, so I've really enjoyed being behind the sticks, and I don't think anyone else has volunteered for those transplant teams. So my gloves and will be on, and yeah, watch your bails, Lewis. Is the way to get off. Don't go wandering down that wicket, mate. And that's what again, it's a new role that I found in the cricket team. Being a wicket keeper, it's something I really enjoyed and enjoy doing. So yeah, it's been a different year, but it's been all right.
The mental side of playing sport, the mental health benefits for me anyway are huge. So playing cricket this summer has been massive for that, and something I want to keep doing for as long as I can. It's the same for you in getting away from work and life. You can just not switch off because obviously you're focused, but you don't really think about anything else at the time.
No, no, it's I love my children dearly. I love all three of them to the world's end. But when I'm on that pitch, I don't have to worry about them. I don't have to worry about their lunches. I don't have to worry about changing nappy. It's something like you said. It's you just with your mates, and it's that banter. It's that you know rapport that you have with
Yeah,
people. Again, you may only see once a week, but you just chew the fat. You drop a cat, you'll get abused. It's just a different way. And I've played sports since I was like 7 in football changing rooms and stuff, and I just feel at home on
yeah,
with a ball in my hand and a big bit of grass, whether it be football, whether it be cricket, tennis. It's just yeah, it's just a release, just a release.
yeah. It's mentally, socially, physically. There's so much sport can do. So if there's a club near you in whatever sport it is you want to do, and you're not playing or involved, why not go and join and feel the benefits for yourself? See if that's something that works for you. And now from cricket to football, it's time for the return of the Transplant Take on Sport quiz.
Oh dear.
As a reminder, with the podcast not being any new episodes for a while, each episode I'll ask the guest 4 questions based on a sport of their choosing. George chose football. There'll be one which is higher question, one true or false, one what happens next, and one who am I. Obviously, the aim is to score as many points as possible, and I'll be keeping score as the podcasts go by.
Can I just put a caveat, Lewis? I have just come off an on-call last night, so my
Yeah, you were
brain isn't
saying
ticking. Yeah, yeah. So I am full of caffeine, so I'm not gonna. I'm anticipating not scoring very highly in today.
that's not a problem. I'm sure the work you do is far more important than scoring a point on this quiz.
No, no, not. It's a quiz. It's a competition. It pales into significance. It's all about the points.
Question 1 is which is higher? Is it the number of goals scored by Lionel Messi in a single game, so the most goals scored by him in a single game, or the amount of times Manchester City have won the Premier League? So, number of goals, the most goals scored by Lionel Messi in a single game, or the amount of times Manchester City have won the Premier League. So that is just Premier League, so since 1992.
I think they've won at 5. I want to say City.
Correct. Correct. From my research, Manchester City have won the Premier League 6 times,
Oh, 6 times.
and Messi has scored 5 in a single game twice. Once against Bayer Leverkusen in 2012 and June this year for Argentina against Estonia.
Fair
So
enough.
1 for you so far. Question 2, true or false? Portsmouth hold the record for having held the FA Cup for the longest period of time.
Purely because of World War II, it's true.
It is true, and that is, 7 years. They held it from 1939 to 1946, despite only winning it once, because there was no professional football during World War II. Forgot your location there on that question. It's 2 out of 2 so far. Question 3 is what happens next. Now, I'll link the video for this what happens next in the show notes, and I'll try and share it on social media if I can without being picked up for copyright issues. So, I'll explain it as well as I can. During a Premier League match between Chelsea and Manchester United in 2008, a balloon makes its way towards Manchester United assistant manager Mike Phelan. For that laugh, I think you might have seen this.
Yeah.
He picks it up, and this is multiple choice. But what happens next? Is it A, Mike Phelan and kit man Albert Morgan start hitting the balloon towards each other with their hands to the disgust of manager Sir Alex Ferguson? Is it B, Mike Phelan rubs the balloon on his t-shirt, followed by Sir Alex Ferguson's head to make his hair stand up, much to his annoyance again? Or is it C, he pops the balloon using his foot, causing a completely unaware Sir Alex Ferguson to jump out of his skin and telling him in no uncertain terms to go away?
I really wish it would be B. I think that would be fantastic. It's C.
It is, yes. The video is very funny, and
Oh, it's brilliant.
I'll share the bleeped version. Otherwise, you can hear it on the pitch side microphones.
Yeah. Even if you did bleep it out, anyone who knows what Sir Alex Ferguson was like as a manager, you can guarantee you know
Yeah.
what's going to come out of his mouth.
Mike Phelan actually said it was one of the most important moments of his coaching career, as it made him famous online. But he was worried he was going to lose his job the next day.
Oh, I can't imagine the absolute ribbon he would have got from Fergie. the day after.
He
Absolutely
said he
unbelievable.
switched off from the game and he was just watching the balloon go along, waiting for it to come towards him because he knew as soon as it came, he was going to pop it.
I will question anyone who will not do it. You had to do it. I would have done it, and I'm pretty sure you would have done it. It's just this
Yeah,
sort of thing. We are ingrained to stamp on a balloon as people from an early age, but to do it with Sir Alex Ferguson next door to you is in the middle of a very important game against a highly decorated Chelsea team at the time. Yeah, less ballsy.
he was more successful than Ben Foster, who tried it last season for Watford, and he nearly injured himself trying to stand on a balloon. His
I
knee
haven't
just
seen that.
buckled.
I
I'll try
haven't
and
catch
share
that.
that if I can. If not, it'll be on YouTube. Ben Foster standing on a balloon.
I'll check that out once we finish.
3 out of 3 so far. The
Not
coffee's
bad.
working. Question 4 is a who am I? So with this, I'll give you 4 statements to try and work out who the player is, and then you can have a guess. If it's incorrect, I'll read another statement. You can have another guess. Up to 3 times. So you've got 4 guesses to get
Okay.
this player. Quite generous. So this player was born in October 1981. They won the league in their first full season in the Premier League. Started their career at Red Star Belgrade and finished at Inter Milan. And this could have been a true or false. They're the only Premier League winner whose surname is made entirely of Roman numerals. Any ideas? Born in October 1981, won the league in his first full season in the Premier League, which hints that he joined midway through a season.
Hmm.
Started his career at Red Star Belgrade and finished in Inter Milan. And the only Premier League winner whose surname is made entirely of Roman numerals. Any guesses before your next clue?
No, no, not yet.
No.
Next clue.
Um, they are one of only 4 players to win the Premier League Player of the Season award twice. So they're a Premier League winner, started their career in Belgrade, finished at Inter Milan. They are 40 years old, coming up 41. And their surname is made of Roman numerals.
So Roman numerals just get me started.
It's possibly one. If it was a pub quiz question and you had more time to work it out, you could go through
Yeah,
the Roman numerals. But
it's just like what I'm trying to
we are on a podcast.
do. No. Oh, well on.
It's been a brainwave there.
Oh, Vidic.
Correct.
Really?
Nemanja Vidic, yeah.
Whoa! Pick that one out. Wow.
The remaining clues were he's a defender and he's Serbian. So I
Yeah, we've
presume you
got
would have got
that.
it from those.
I didn't realise he finished his career at Inter Milan. Wow.
He left when David Moyes came in.
Didn't realise he went to Milan. Wow.
He wasn't there that long, but yeah, he finished at Inter Milan. I can't
Wow.
remember the other 4 players to win the Premier League Player of the Season award twice.
Again, I didn't realise he won it twice. He was awesome. One of the best defenders in the Premier League, in my opinion. But wow, I didn't realise he won it twice.
And the name made of Roman numerals.
Wow. Again, I completely forgot D was a Roman numeral.
So did I until I saw that fact online. I
That's a
think it's
good.
500.
That's a good fact. That's a good fact. I like that. That's pushed something really important out of my brain now, and that's gonna. I'm giving my father-in-law a ring. He's a bit of a football nut himself. I'm gonna quiz him on that one. Brilliant, brilliant answers.
4 out of 4. Great performance in the quiz. One more question before we go, and it's the one I ask everyone at the end of the podcast. And maybe different answer from you. We'll change it a little bit. One piece of advice you'd give to someone who's facing a transplant, and that may be a donor family facing their loved one donating.
Um, I can do it for the recipient side as well, because obviously we ring up a lot of centres, and sometimes we have to stand down because of certain stuff. I would say to the recipient, never give up hope. There's
Yeah.
always people out there from the Seaside's family out there willing to help. So don't give up hope, no matter how many telephone calls you get and how many times you get stand down. Hopefully your time will come. And from a donor family point of view, oh god, it's really difficult. I would say just be human. Just think about what you would want in that situation. Most families would take anything to have their loved one back. So you have the opportunity to give someone that second chance. So just be human and try to think of others in a time where you might struggle to tie up shoelaces.
Brilliant answer. George, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. You are one of our NHS heroes and have
Cheers, mate.
touched the lives of so many people. If you'd like to come and watch both of us play cricket, get involved with the day to raise awareness for organ donation, you can do. Link for tickets will be in the show notes of this podcast. That is Sunday, the 11th of September at Rockhampton Cricket Club. NHS blood and transplant versus England and Wales Transplant Cricket Club. If you're enjoying the podcast, please make sure you press subscribe, follow wherever you normally listen, and then you won't miss an episode. We are coming back. There's going to be more episodes coming along the way. Make sure you stay tuned. There'll be more inspirational guests that you'll be hearing from shortly. Once again, thank you very much to my guest today, George Brann-Liff. I've been Lewis Daniels, and you've been listening to Transplants Take on Sport.